The first step is to understand your company's sales funnel. It's called a funnel because there's many people at the top, and it narrows down to where a few people pop out the bottom. It's kind of the shape of a funnel. Now, there's no specific stages within a sales funnel of a company. There are for your company, but there aren't in general. So let me explain a few different funnels, and from that, you'll be able to try and figure out what the funnel should be for your company. Let's look first at a telesales company. This is a company where the salespeople sit inside, often in cubicles, making phone calls all day, trying to close sales. So in a telesales organization, the marketing department will provide the sales group a set of unqualified leads. Leads are names and contact information. So these days that's a phone number or an email address. And an unqualified lead is someone who may be in the market for the product that you're selling or the service that you're selling, but you're not sure. You're not sure whether they have the right budget. You're not sure whether they're interested in this product right now. You're not exactly sure whether they have the specific problem that you're solving. They are unqualified, as in you haven't figured out whether they qualify for a sale or not. So the sales team then takes the unqualified leads, does something like send an email to them, call them on the phone, send a questionnaire and whatnot, and qualifies the leads. So as you go from the set of all unqualified leads to qualified leads, you lose some. There's some percentage that in fact were not qualified, that are not going to purchase now, that shouldn't be talked about any further. And so the number shrinks down, again, like a funnel. Once you have a set of qualified leads, some number of these leads are likely prospects. So in the qualification process, you might discover that yes, these 1,000 companies all have the problem you're solving, but these 100 companies are the best prospects to go and try and close right now for whatever reason, because they have budget, because they are big enough, because they're in the right geography, for whatever reason, those are the prospects you're going to try and talk to now. So next down the list are customers, right? So between prospects and customers, there might be a few different phone calls or a few different email or a few stages to get them through. But ultimately, a small percentage of those prospects will be closed customers, right? Customer as in they're paying you money. That's not the end of the funnel, right? So a funnel goes down to near a point, and in real life, it continues after that. Because once you have a customer, you're going to follow up with that customer and try and get them to repurchase something. You might have a service that they have to buy once a year or once a month. You may have a product that wears out and they have to buy it again. You are going to do something to keep that customer happy so that you can have a repeat customer. It might be a retail store. They come back in the door and buy again. Right? There's a generic looking sales funnel for you, but it's not the only one. A retail store has a slightly different set of stages. So for a retail store, there's a certain number of people who drive by the store. Right? It's very hard to measure. In fact, it may be an unmeasurable number. Right? You could sit out there all day and count cars, but every day is a little bit different and so forth. You don't really know who drives by your store. Similarly, you don't know who walks by the store, who gets out of their car and walks past your front door. How many of those people are there versus how many that walk in the front door? Again, we're narrowing it down from stage to stage. You're going to try and do something, right? Once we understand the sales funnel, we then have the challenge of trying to make it work better. So how do you get more people to walk by? Well, maybe it's a big sign outside the front of your door. How do you get the walk-ins to walk in the door? Well, maybe that's a sandwich board, or maybe that's a sign that says sale, or maybe it's just a really good sign that tells the hours of the store so that they know when it's open. In any case, a small percentage of the people that walk by are going to walk in. Of the people who walk in, some percentage will actually touch the product in the store before they walk out. Right? Again, where you place things in the store, what the coloring is and the scale and the size of the shelves and all that will change that percentage of customers that interact with the products. Of the people who interact with the products, a certain number will come to buy them, and most of those will purchase and become customers. Now, in a retail store, there may be a reasonably large amount of people who then return the products. So they looked like customers, but they were only customers if the product wasn't returned. And then again, you want these customers to come back into the store and buy more products, so the funnel doesn't end with the sale. The retail store funnel has an analogy out on the web, out in the online world, and it looks rather similar. So there's a certain number of people out there who have searched for a term that should provide the search results for your website. And like the drive-bys, you're never going to know how many that was. There are some tools out there that can estimate it, but you really just don't know. You don't know all the terms people use to find your site, and you don't know how many people are searching those terms. But nonetheless, you finally get to a point where people have searched for something and have clicked on a link and have landed on your website. That's a good number to know. How many people have shown up on your website? And there's typically two things that can happen. They can turn around after the first page view and disappear. We call that a bounce. Or they can interact with more than one page. And that's kind of like customers that have walked in the door and started touching the products. Right? As soon as they've started touching a few pages of your website, they're now in your store, or in your at least interacting with your brand. So, of those, a certain number will register as customers. Right? Those you'll know much better because you'll know exactly who they are. And there's always a question in the online space of when do you have these customers register and log in? Do you do it as soon as possible or as late as possible? And depending on where you do that, more customers will make it to the end. More customers will make it into the shopping cart or make it to wherever it is that they purchase your product. And it will change depending on the layout of your product, who your customers are, how that experience works. So you're going to have to try more than one way. Eventually, you're going to have to try both ways. Right now, you're just going to make a best guess and say they log in at this point, they interact with the products, and they hit the purchase button at that point. And at some point in this funnel, they become customers. Great. Just like everything else, you want to then delight these customers so that they come back and buy again. And it might be that they're buying a subscription. And so buying again might be simply charging their credit card. Or it might be that they have to come back and find your site again to buy another copy of whatever you sell. So with that, the first exercise you need to do is to define the stages of your sales funnel. Don't fret on how you get customers from stage to stage yet. That's part of your whole sales plan. But just lay out what are the stages for your potential customers. Right? How do you find out about them? Who's at the top of the funnel? Where do they come from to be in the top of the funnel? And then what are the various things that they do? What are the stages that they sit in between being at the top of the funnel and hitting the buy button or handing you cash or however they purchase what you sell? And then just think a little bit for now about what happens later. How do you then get these customers to be repeat customers? Great. Now, once you have that set down, the next question is, what are a few tactics you can use to improve the speed through the funnel and improve the shape, as in have more customers at each stage get down to the next stage? So for each and every stage, think of 3 things you can do to speed them through that funnel. And just like in the marketing plan where you always have something you're doing to raise awareness, in the sales plan in any given week or month or quarter, you're going to be focusing on one stage in your sales pipeline. At any given time, you're going to be trying to improve that stage. So ultimately, more customers get from the top of the pipeline to the bottom, and they get through much quicker. And if you take this one at a time, stage by stage, running experiments, trying new things, you will ultimately find that your sales happen quicker and bigger. And that's what you need in order to make your company succeed, to make your company grow.